Wagwan Two Tone Podcast.
We're here live with Ben Teters from Brooklyn Reggae and the amazing group called SunDub.
Hey.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Thank you for wearing headphones.
Oh yeah, no echo.
So the question I have is, what's Brooklyn Reggae, Mr. Ben?
So Brooklyn Reggae started. I mean, first of all, Brooklyn Reggae is exactly as it sounds. It's reggae musicians based in Brooklyn, New York. It's a huge community. It goes back many years. So I put it on a SunDub shirt. SunDub is our original reggae band, and we're from Brooklyn. So I put Brooklyn Reggae on a shirt, and that sort of snowballed into mostly an online community, an Instagram page where we support different reggae shows and promote events, leverage our community to bring people together. That's really what it's all about.
I like that you had like a boat show, Brooklyn Reggae. You also have like Brooklyn Bowl, Brooklyn Reggae shows.
I think it's also cool that you're not claiming ownership because a lot of people would be upset with you right now, Ben.
I mean, how can anyone claim ownership over Brooklyn or reggae? You know what I mean? It's like Brooklyn and reggae are going to be around.
I got some arguments with you. So people from Queens or Manhattan can't go to Brooklyn Reggae shows. What's up?
I mean, of course, anyone can come to the show. I live in Brooklyn. The band SunDub is sort of rooted in Brooklyn. And would you rather wear a Manhattan shirt or a Brooklyn shirt? Come on,
Brooklyn.
But it extends far beyond just the borough of Brooklyn and beyond the 5 boroughs and New York in general. So it's an inclusive platform, if anything.
Yeah. As an old reggae head from Brooklyn, we appreciate this signature. Yeah.
Of course, man. I mean, we're just trying to lift up everyone in the community who's been involved for a long time and who's just become involved. I mean, we have no borders and it's no gatekeeping. Exactly. So
what I like about what you're doing is me like the old school, like 90s ska scene in the city where it's like, all right, there's a crew, so you got your Coolie Ranks, Pilfers, you got your SunDubs and all these other bands. So it's like we have like a collective now that we can like, what's going on this weekend in the Brooklyn reggae world? Because that there's always something cool going to happen with this Brooklyn reggae.
Exactly. I mean, there's a million shows in Brooklyn every day and in Manhattan and all over. And, we can help each other cross promote, share music, share information, lift up artists that might not be as active as they used to be or don't have the, the materials or the, access to promotion or venues or whatever. Like it's collaborative, sort of helpful community platform.
Very cool.
I have a question for Cooley, actually. So tell me about was there how was the scene with the Moon Ska? Were you part of that? Were you involved with that with the Toasters? And I want to know how did it feel being a part of the Moon Ska thing? Because to me that's very intriguing.
What it was mostly was camaraderie. I was new to the scene, didn't know about white boys at all. It was like, oh, what the fuck is this shit I'm getting into? But everybody was cool. It was a family. It started off as a family, ended as a family, still continues as a family. It's like they introduced me to the culture of the ska, which I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about the whole rock guitars like that. We played little rock guitar with the reggae, but not with the ska. I didn't know ska at all. I didn't know where it came from other than I used to call it reggae. I just thought it was reggae. It's Jamaican music is reggae. I didn't know there was a separation of genres. Moon Ska was very influential as far as gathering bands, like what the Brooklyn Reggae is. They would gather bands, do compilations, put bands on from all over the world, and just made it a scene. So there was no scene before the Moon Ska. We would play just before the techno, and then they were like, "Yeah, get them off the stage," and then the techno would come on. There was no scene.
This is you coming out of Brownsville, right? So you were in Brownsville.
Yeah, I was out the hood, man. It was like I said, this was my first introduction to a world other than a black world. It's like everything I knew was dancehall, hip hop, house. You know what I mean?
This is mid to late 90s.
This is from the creation, man. This is from when I came. I came into the the Toasters in '89.
Oh wow, this is 80s.
That was my first encounter with them. I left them, little culture shock. And then I came back in the '90s. I came back in the '90s, like '93. I was in England from '91 to '93. I came back here, and they hit me up, and the rest is Dub 56 Scar history.
Yes, it is.
Classic album
Yeah.
for the Toasters.
Indeed.
What are your favorites, Ben? Like, do you have any ska, old school ska favorites or reggae favorites that you listen to?
I mean, definitely. I grew up listening to ska. I grew up listening to the Pilfers and the Toasters and coming down here for 3 floors of ska at the Knitting
Oh yeah.
Factory on the west
Mm.
side. And
Mhm.
I mean, I had a ska band when I was in high school, early high school, and Jamaican music has been a large part of my life since I started, forging my own musical tastes.
Before ska, I'm a reggae. I'm like straight reggae. Like Carlton
Yeah. Dancehall?
Livingston, Dennis Brown. Yeah, like my world was sound system.
Yeah. I didn't
And
know about that stuff.
yeah,
Mine
sound
was
system
ska
and live.
first.
No,
Yeah.
no. Sound system, live performances, stage show. We call it stage show, right? We do stage show. And coming into the ska world, my understanding was white folks did not like us.
Mm.
The first time I got on the mic and I chat, I received like some like crazy applause, and I was like, "Whoa, they like me!
Yeah.
They like me!" and shit. Big surprise, because that's not the kind of teaching that we're getting in the hood. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it was definitely a change, and the way everyone was dressing within the communities was a big change too. We're more like we have a lot of gold and a lot of things like that, and came here was ripped jeans, tight
Yeah.
pants. It was like a whole different way of dressing, even down to baseball hats. How you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We just kept it straight, but y'all were like, you know what I'm saying?
Of course, definitely.
Oh, okay. So it was totally different. It was like a beautiful match for me to learn. It was like a whole new course of learning and shit for me to do. And until I created my own shit.
There you go.
Which was what, Pilfers?
Yeah, well, not just the band, the music, the sound. Like
Ragacore.
Rago Core created it with those influences from the worlds that I know. Because when I went back to England, it was jungle.
I
I was
love
doing jungle drum and
jungle.
bass. Yeah, and then came back to America at this time. It was like the two tone and the other stuff. But I was listening to other things too, and there you go, crazy.
Yeah.
I just found something too from a friend. Sorry.
What'd you find?
This what you're gonna hook up.
Oh, you got old school tapes.
I got
Okay.
the beta
Oh, we talked about that. Beta from when again?
'99.
Oh, from the Pilfers video.
Yeah,
Yo, original. Let me see that tape. That's the original
that's
footage.
the guy
Can
that
you open
shot it.
that? Let me see. Open the beta. Open it. Is that VHS? Let me look at. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it. Can you turn it? Flip it. Yeah, I'm gonna convert that to 4K.
Digital. Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude. And it's not out on YouTube.
in a very poor copy.
Oh, we're gonna put it out. Like we're gonna re-release it. You're gonna
Mm.
tell us about the creation of SunDub. What is SunDub? Who is SunDub? What's your goal?
Yes. So SunDub is a band that I'm part of based here in Brooklyn. We're an original modern roots reggae band fronted by my sister, Joanna Teters, on lead vocals.
But
Also including the General Eric Toussaint on keyboards,
all right.
Maestro Sidney Mills on keyboards. We got Finnegan Singer on guitar. We got Jose Lopez on guitar, Derek Bourne on bass, myself on drums, and as I said, Joanna, my sister, on lead vocals. And we're an original band, writing and playing and performing original music based here in Brooklyn. We're currently working on the production of our 3rd album.
Oh wow.
our
What
first
about Brooklyn
album.
Larry? Brooklyn Larry. You forgot Brooklyn Larry, bro.
We got Brook. So the crew that I mentioned is 7 people, and that's sort of like who we list in the who's in the band kind of thing. But feeding into the Brooklyn Reggae community thing, like SunDub extends beyond just sort of our core membership to include people like you said, the legendary maestro of Jamaican percussion, Larry McDonald, often including Rough Scott, Chronic Horns.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And we've worked with a lot of different people, over the last 2 original albums that we've released, and we're working on number 3 right now. Big shout out to Easy Star Records, who released our 2nd album,
Michael
Spirit Seed
G.
Music, Michael G and Eric and Lem. And yeah, so all these people that I mentioned make up sort of the Brooklyn Reggae crew, and SunDub is our original project within that, and we use both platforms to leverage each other, and we're on the move.
Definitely. You got a great show, great songs, great musicianship. It's like you guys are so seasoned. It's like you've been doing this for years.
Who's your sound guy? You got a sound guy or no?
We do have a sound guy. Big shout out, Alex Glasgow, based here in New York. He runs sound every show.
Very clean. I think the boat was clean too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was there. Yep. Go check Alex at the Blue Note and some other rooms he works at in New York. Yeah, he's been a big part of the team for the last couple of years. So
cool. You know how I discovered SunDub?
No?
So I was told and forced by my Boston friend Robert Velosevich. He was the campaign manager for Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
And I was doing the Bernie Sanders thing in 2016, with Rosario Dawson with Spike Lee, and the way he talks to me is very kind of like me, like director. Like he's like, "You're gonna go to this band." I'm like, "What band?" He's like, "SunDub." I'm like, "Who?" He's like, "Go to this band. Like you're gonna be working with them." I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "This is the fucking address. You're gonna go there."
Keep it clean.
And then I went, and I recorded. It was just like live footage of you guys recording the album.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You were there at the very beginning on the production of album number 1 in Bushwick. Yeah.
And then
he has that knack, he has that knack of being there in the first of the beginning of everything.
Oh yeah, me and Ben go, yeah, and then just like that, Robert disappeared like Batman. Like my job is done.
Yep.
It's like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
But he's a good shout out to Robert V.
Yeah, RPV.
How do you know
big
Robert
shout
V?
out. I know Robert through the Boston music scene. He used to work with some bands that I knew some people in Boston, and we just stayed in contact.
What are you doing in Boston if you're from Brooklyn, dude?
I was going to school in Brooklyn, or in Boston, sorry. But I'm born in Manhattan, raised in New York.
Oh my God, so confusing. So
yeah, right.
So you went to school in Boston, and you met a bunch of you had a Boston scene up there?
Yeah, so I went to Berklee College of Music. Big scene of musicians and people who are trying to make it in the industry and figure out if they're cut out for it or what. But yeah, I was in Boston for 4 years, had some original projects, and was going to school and met a ton of musicians and a ton of people that I'm still connected with today. And as soon as I graduated, I split for Brooklyn.
Are you also a producer, touching the boards? You do?
Yeah, I'm a producer. I produced SunDub's last 2 albums. I would say my production style leans more toward like the live band kind of production thing, but totally, man. I'm in Pro Tools, making sure everything's sitting proper for this album. And I have to shout out Sydney Mills. I've learned so much from Sydney, staring over his shoulder for the last 2 productions of our original music.
For the viewers, what band was Sydney Mills in?
So Sydney Mills has been part of many reggae groups over the years. Most notably, he was the musical director and keyboard player for Steel Pulse for about 30 years.
Wow.
But he's worked with everyone. I mean, really, Sydney is a practiced practitioner of reggae music and music in general, both live and in the studio. So I've learned so much from him about producing music and everything from recording through mixing and mastering. So huge shout out to Sydney. He's been a very big influence on our sound and our trajectory as a band, and we're so happy to have him on stage with us now and just like fully inserted into the SunDub flow.
A lot of pride in Sydney because he's from my block
Mm,
in Brooklyn. So I'm like, yeah, that's our peoples right there. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
big up Sydney from the block from the '90s. Big up '90s.
totally. And Sydney is like an absolute perfect example of like the Brooklyn reggae sort of mentality. He is so talented and so helpful. I'll say almost to a fault. Like he has to help people at every chance he gets. He's always in the studio with different artists and always just bigging people up, helping them with their music, helping them with their production, their contacts, like anything he can do to lift up other artists, Sydney will do. And that's what makes him such an incredible person and, musical partner to have. And SunDub is just like, Sydney is about the scene and about the music. And that is really what Brooklyn reggae tries to sort of model itself after, is like, it's not about one band. It's not about one artist. It's not about being better than the other Brooklyn reggae promotion agency. It's about like cross promoting everyone's music, cross promoting everyone's events, and therefore strengthening the whole network that we have here and bringing it to the world. Because like, let's go. We got to represent the East Coast and the New York reggae, man. I mean, like, let's go. You guys
It's
know
not a
what I'm
war, right?
talking about.
It's not like an East Coast, West Coast reggae war, is there?
Never has been and never will be. But, we got to represent our own. Because
Facts.
there's a lot of incredible talent
You know what?
in Brooklyn, in New York
Yeah.
State, and the East Coast, New England. Like, there's an incredible amount of talent, reggae and otherwise. So our mission is to lift that.
Facts.
Lift it up.
I am going to say something that there might not be a war, but we have to catch up to all the West Coast bands, because I feel like there's a lot of West Coast bands that are claiming it. And now it's nice to see like a SunDub pop up from the East Coast, and Pilfers, doing their thing. Like the East Coast needs to really, and Badfish.
Jeff, this one is to you. How do you think that the West Coast became so prominent in the reggae?
Easy answer. I
Okay.
already have it's the
I'm
same thing
listening.
I tell people. In the 90s, you had Sublime, right? You had this white boy reggae band where the singer was actually doing something nobody was doing. He was taking Jamaican dancehall beats and playing it in his band. No white bands were doing that in the 90s.
No.
So he was taking Half Pint songs, he was taking Barrington Levy songs and doing the beats and singing his own lyrics over that. Now, fast forward 30 years later, 30 years later, people are trying to emulate Sublime. And a lot of people are doing a great job doing it. So I feel obviously there's different variations of it. You got your Slightly Stupids, which have their own little twist. You have your Stick Figure, which has a whole new production style. But it all comes back to Sublime. Even Stick Figure said he is inspired by Sublime. So I feel like if these three dudes from California didn't start copying Barrington Levy and Half Pint, then we wouldn't have this right now in the West Coast, where I think the East Coast is more. There's a lot more Jamaicans in Brooklyn than there are in San Diego. There's a whole neighborhood where it's like Jamaican and like they have the cultures there, where you don't really see that in Long Beach, California. And I remember I was being told by one of the Sublime guys, they were so excited when Half Pint, when he decided to do a song with them, like, oh my God, we got Half Pint, like a real legend,
Yeah.
You fast forward now, there's like festivals now, there's Cali Vibes, you got your Cali Roots, and they're slowly bringing in the Proteges and the Jesse Royals, which is good. Finally, you're seeing them on the bill now. But at first, 10 years ago, when I was there when the festival thing started. So 10 years ago, it was just like white boy bands. And now it's kind of expanding into like, they finally bringing Shaggy. They can afford to get Shaggy. And so that's my opinion about West Coast got on lock right now. And I think it's good to see East Coast kind of like slowly stepping it up.
Well, also what I'll add to that is like Sublime and No Doubt were on alternative rock radio. You heard What I Got and Santeria every 40 minutes, every single day. And if you turn on my local station when I was growing up was WRV. If you turn on WRV like 20 years later, there's a good chance you're still going to hear those songs in rotation. And there were no East Coast bands that were able to cross over into that major, radio market. I mean, I can't think of any, there were none. And Sublime was, I mean, they were on every day, every hour, and they're still on.
The only thing, that's a great point from like a broadcasting technical aspect. They were like forced through the
I mean,
radio.
how else do you get people to hear your music, especially back then? There's no chance you're gonna, unless somebody happens to bring over like a compilation of ska or whatever, you're not gonna hear Sublime unless you're listening to the radio, To
piggyback what you're saying, and that's what it was. Like in the 90s with the Moon Ska and like the local punk shows like Murphy's Law, it was on that same level, but like it wasn't radio.
But it's underground. That wasn't it was the same level because the music was as good, but it wasn't on the same level. They're not on major radio. There's no way. And you still see that overflow 20, 30 years later of like people are still exposed to that music in a massive commercial way.
So that was the issue. Okay, so now we're gonna talk some turkey right now. That was the same issue with Moon Records and that whole thing. They were about to take all of that to the mainstream. I was there for that conversation too. They was about to take it to the mainstream, but the offer that they made the owner of Moon Records wasn't substantial to what they were making already by themselves. So that deal, which was in talks, fell through. But it was about to go that way. Had he taken that leap, Pie Tasters, Dancehall Crashes, Memphis Cafes, they wouldn't be underground bands right now. They'd be just as big as any other band which you mentioned just now. But it didn't happen. It was going to happen, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's what I see as like one of the main things, is like the exposure that those bands got and getting their music in people's ears every single day, and the ears of their parents too. It's like, oh, what I got to, mom's listening to this song and she doesn't even know why, but she knows it.
Yeah.
Well,
it was an injustice, man. East Coast had some amazing, still do. They have some amazing bands, amazing songwriting.
I think now it's blown up finally, 30 years later.
I think it's still the same, bro. It may be blowing up, but I still think it's still on that underground level. Like it's not something that you're gonna hear on a commercial or like on a commercial radio or something like that. It's definitely blowing up on the underground level. It hasn't broken through that ceiling yet.
Well, it's interesting to see because here's the deal. Sublime, so you guys know John Phillips, obviously, the manager is Slightly Stupid. And the story goes, John was sitting at the desk and this dude, Greg, across from him, throws a tape at him. He's like, I got this tape from a house party. So $5 at the door, reggae house. And he put the tape in. He's like, who the fuck is this? Oh, it's some band called Sublime. So John signed him. And, when you sign to a label, they're going to throw you on radio stations. It's almost like if Murphy's Law the tape got tossed to like Universal Records.
Like you said, they threw them in the tape. That's where we are. And I think on the West Coast, there's more influential people there. I don't know how that is. I think maybe it's the Hollywood thing. Maybe it's the show business headquarters of the world. To me, I always see things come there first and then come here. No? Like it's over there first, and then it comes to the East Coast.
In terms of reggae ska, probably, yeah.
Not just terms of ideas and things,
I mean, that's where the power players of the majority of the music industry is based in LA. I mean, that's what it is, That's where the big labels and big studios were back when that actually mattered. Now it's not really as big of a thing, but 15, 20 years ago. The Geffen.
Well, so now you're signed to Easy Star, Michael G. So they're East Coast based, pushing you guys.
Yep. Yeah, we love Easy Star. They're an incredible example of like how a boutique record label can operate very professionally and very effectively, and push good music, and not stray from what they love to do and still be successful. So
Mm.
yeah, we're working on the next record, and we'll be releasing with them sometime this year. My sister's about to have a baby literally any day now, so
Oh, wow.
SunDub has been on a live performance hiatus, but we've been hard at work in the studio, and
Very good.
we're coming strong in 2025 with a lot of new music and
Okay.
back on the road. So it's going to be a new paradigm. But we do it for the music, and that's sounds like a cliche, but like that is true. We do this for the music. I do this because I know that spiritually this is like something that I have to do. There's no other thing for me personally that I know is my mission as much as fulfilling the spiritual role of bringing properly aligned, positive, good music to people, whether they know if they're receiving it or not and how they're receiving it. But I know that that's what I need to do. And so that vision and that knowledge extends into this project and like fuels myself, fuels the rest of the crew, because this is what we're here to do, and that is truly how we feel.
I love that. You're doing the works.
And that's what it is, man. I mean, and again, it might sound cliche, but like some people know. And when you know, and I'm sure Cooley
Yeah.
as a musician, like that the frequencies that you put out are met with a certain energy, and that's really important work, whether the people on the other end are aware
Mhm.
of this thing that they're receiving. Like,
Facts.
I
Very
know that.
important.
I know that, man. So that is
Facts.
what really down to the core and the root of all this propels us forward.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. That's
Yeah.
it right
That's
there.
it, man. That's it.
That's it right there.
Everything else is on the periphery. But
Facts.
you get to the core and the root of why you're doing this, and that's it for me.
That's it.
So,
That's it.
and that's why
Absolutely.
SunDub is such a collective, and we all align so effectively, is because we know beyond the door deal, beyond the versus deal, beyond the album promotion cycle, beyond the singles, beyond the everything, we do this for a spiritual reason, and I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Well
Respect.
said.
Brooklyn Reggae Official. That's where we post all the shows that we're involved in and helping promote. We got a show calendar on there and post pictures from events that we attend. So that's a good place to sort of keep connected to the Brooklyn Reggae community.
Nice. Last question. Where's my jacket that I ordered?
Your jacket, I can pull
3
up
weeks
that
ago.
tracking number. I know it wasn't 3 weeks ago, but it said it was supposed to be
I'm
delivered
playing.
yesterday. It said it was supposed to come in yesterday. So hopefully, today or tomorrow it should arrive. But
I'll pick it up. Yeah.
it's crispy for sure.
Just shout out to your sister and let her have a safe birth.
Definitely.
I'm a big fan of hers.
Yes. Congratulations.
Have a safe delivery and a wonderful return to the music.
Definitely. We'll be back soon, and I'll definitely pass the message along, Uncle Cooley.
That's what everybody calls me.
Well,
Yes.
Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Respect.
And
Yeah,
we'll
respect,
talk to you.
guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you at the shows.
All right. Peace.